Video opens with a surreal visual. A man in a sharp business suit is falling in slow motion through a cloud-filled sky, but the sky is indoors, inside a vast, Magritte-style library. Books are fluttering around him like birds. He is not screaming, his face is a mask of tense, controlled surprise. The sound is muffled, just the whisper of wind and the rustle of paper. Have you ever felt it? That quiet, humming anxiety beneath the surface of your success? The fear that you are, at all times, just one misstep away from a catastrophic plunge. You might have the title, the relationship, the respect, but you carry a secret. You are an architect who is terrified of heights, living on the top floor of a skyscraper you built yourself. This is not simple anxiety. This is a specific spiritual vertigo I call the Icarus complex. It is the terror of the high achiever, the curse of the self-made, the secret shame of the one who appears to have it all. And tonight, we are going to look at its primary symptom, its nightly distress call, the dream of falling. Stay with me through this descent, and I promise you, by the end, you will not only understand what your subconscious is screaming at you. You will learn that the fall is not an end, but a beginning. You will learn how to grow wings on the way down. The scene shifts. We are now in a room where the floor is a chessboard, stretching to an infinite horizon. The viewer's perspective is that of the king piece, looking out at the other, perfectly arranged pieces. The voiceover speaks directly to the camera, to you. You feel the ground beneath you is not quite solid, don't you? You've meticulously arranged every piece on the board of your life. Your career, your relationships, your public image, each occupies its correct square. From the outside, it is a portrait of strategy and control. A masterpiece of order. But you feel the tremor. You live with the hum of a latent earthquake that no one else can hear. When your boss praises your work, there is a flash of pride, but it is instantly followed by a cold wave of dread. The thought, if they only knew how close I am to failing. If they only knew I have no idea what I'm doing. Each compliment is another stone added to a tower that already feels unstable. You lie awake at night, not replaying your successes, but relitigating your smallest errors. A clumsy phrase in a meeting. An email you could have worded better. You are a detective searching for the crack in your own foundation. You believe that vigilance, absolute, unrelenting vigilance, is the only thing keeping the whole structure from collapsing into dust. Let me tell you the hidden cost of this vigilance. It is not just the exhaustion, the burnout. The true price you pay is your own freedom. In your desperate effort to prevent a fall, you have forgotten how to leap. You cannot innovate, because innovation requires risk. You cannot be truly intimate, because intimacy requires vulnerability. You cannot be spontaneous, because spontaneity relinquishes control. You have built yourself a beautiful, orderly, and immaculate cage. And the dream of falling, that is the sound of your own soul rattling the bars, begging for a sky it has forgotten. It is a message from the prisoner in the penthouse. And it is a message of hope. The king piece on the chessboard develops a single, hairline crack. The camera zooms in on it as the scene transitions. We are now in an ethereal, dreamlike space. Constellations drift slowly by. At the center is a glowing, translucent human brain, with synapses firing like distant stars. The voiceover becomes more analytical, yet still poetic. To understand the cure, we must first correctly diagnose the ailment. Western culture has taught you to interpret the fall as a simple metaphor for failure. This is a profound, and dangerous, misunderstanding. Your subconscious is not a high school guidance counselor worried about your quarterly reports. Its language is far older, far deeper. It speaks in myth. The dream of falling is not a warning against failure. It is an invitation to a necessary psychological process, the process of conscious surrender. The mind, your conscious ego, is a creature of light and air. It builds, it strives, it climbs. It seeks to impose order on chaos. To do this, it must repress, deny, and disown everything that threatens its ascent. Your doubt, your fear, your messy, irrational impulses, your secret weaknesses. This collection of disowned parts is what the great psychoanalyst Carl Jung called the shadow. You have pushed it all into the basement of your psyche. But your psyche, like the planet itself, demands balance. It operates on a law as fundamental as gravity. What goes up, must come down. The dream of falling is the psyche's gravitational pull, an attempt to correct an ego that has flown too high, that has become dangerously ungrounded and disconnected from the whole of your being. Let us break this solution, this great secret of conscious surrender, into its three core principles. First, is the principle of gravitational truth. Your life is not a ladder, it is a cycle. Every ascent into consciousness, control, and success must be balanced by a descent into the unconscious, the chaotic, the unknown. Resisting this psychological gravity is like trying to hold your breath forever. The longer you resist, the more violent the eventual, inevitable release will be. The dream is your psyche telling you, it's time to exhale. It's time to come down. Second, is the principle of the alchemical abyss. The fall feels like annihilation, but it is actually an initiation. You are not falling into nothingness. You are falling into everything you have ignored. The ground you are hurtling towards is not an endpoint, it is the fertile soil of your own forgotten self. In every myth, from Inanna's descent to Persephone's, the journey into the underworld is a prerequisite for rebirth and true power. You must fall to find the riches you have buried. And third, the most crucial, is the principle of the open hand. The terror of falling comes from clutching, from trying to grab onto the walls as you plummet. Surrender is not passive resignation, it is an active, courageous choice. It is the choice to open your hands. To stop fighting the descent and instead become curious about it. It is the difference between being thrown from a cliff and choosing to dive. Think of a trapeze artist. For a moment, to get from one swing to the next, they must let go of both. They exist in a state of pure fall. This is the moment of maximum risk, but it is also the only moment where progress is possible. Your Icarus complex has you clinging to that first bar, knuckles white, arms burning, terrified to let go. The dream is your inner ringmaster shouting, it's time. Trust the space in between. Conscious surrender is choosing to trust that space. As the third principle is explained, the scene shows the falling man again. This time, he consciously relaxes, unclenching his fists. His fall becomes less of a plummet and more of a graceful, balletic descent. The scene changes to a quiet, contemplative study. It's filled with anatomical drawings of the human mind and strange, symbolic artifacts. The psychoanalyst's voice is now a guide, practical and direct. Philosophy is useless if it cannot be lived. So let us take this grand theory of conscious surrender and make it a practice. How do you learn to fall gracefully in a world that only celebrates the climb? Here are 4 concrete exercises. 4 ways to build your parachute on the way down. Do not simply listen to these. Do them. First, practice dream cartography. Starting tonight, keep a journal by your bed. When you are shaken awake by the dream of falling, or any powerful dream, write it down immediately. But do not just record the plot, what happened. That is the surface. You are a cartographer of the deep. I want you to map the feeling. Ask yourself these questions and write down the answers. What was the emotional texture of the fall? Was it sheer terror? Was it a strange, exhilarating release? Or was it a numb, inevitable dread? And crucially, where were you falling from? A glittering, corporate skyscraper? This points to an instability in your professional ambition. A crumbling, ancient cliffside? This may speak to a foundational belief system that no longer serves you. The roof of your childhood home? This suggests unresolved issues from your past are undermining your present stability. The architecture of your fall is a blueprint of your waking anxieties. Map it. Second, engage in acts of micro-surrender. Your fear of falling is a muscle you have trained every day through a relentless need for control. We must now train the opposite muscle, the muscle of release. You will do this through small, conscious acts of letting go in your waking life. Tomorrow at work, delegate a task you would normally insist on doing yourself. In a conversation, admit you don't know the answer to a question, instead of bluffing. Take a dance class, or a painting class, or any activity you know you will be bad at, and allow yourself to be a clumsy beginner. Each of these acts is a tiny rehearsal for the larger psychological surrender your soul is asking for. You are teaching your nervous system, on a cellular level, that letting go is not death. It is simply letting go. Third, initiate a dialogue with the abyss. This is a powerful technique of active imagination. Find a quiet time when you will not be disturbed. Close your eyes, take a few deep breaths, and consciously bring the feeling of your falling dream to mind. Visualize yourself at the edge of the place you fall from. Feel the vertigo, the fear. But this time, instead of recoiling, you are going to take a step forward. You are going to choose to fall. And as you fall in your imagination, you will ask a question, either out loud or in your mind. Ask the dream, "What do you want to show me?" Or, "What have I forgotten at the bottom?" Do not try to answer intellectually. Just listen. An image may appear, a word, a memory, a feeling. You are turning a passive nightmare into an active dialogue. You are no longer the victim of the fall, you are its student. Fourth, and finally, identify your wax wings. Icarus did not fall because he flew. He fell because he flew with wings that were not his own, an artificial construction of wax and feathers, doomed to fail when tested by the heat of reality. You must identify the wax wings in your own life. Ask yourself, honestly, what part of my identity feels the most fragile? What success am I most terrified of being found out for? Is it my reputation as the infallible expert? My persona as the endlessly patient partner? My image as someone who never needs help? This is your Icarus construction. This is the part of you your ego has built with wax and feathers. You do not need to tear it down today. For now, simply naming it is enough. Acknowledging its fragility is the first step to building something real, something authentic, in its place. Something with roots, not just wings. The scene returns to the mythic. We see a beautiful, Da Vinci-esque animation of Icarus falling. But instead of terror, his face shows a moment of profound, startling realization as he plummets towards a sun-drenched sea. You may think this is all beautiful poetry, a comforting metaphor. But the proof of this principle is etched into our oldest stories and our most modern science. The source code for this entire psychic drama is the myth of Icarus. We have been telling the story wrong for centuries. We frame it as a cautionary tale about the dangers of ambition. But it is not. It is a cautionary tale about the dangers of inauthentic, ungrounded ambition. Daedalus, the father, the symbol of grounded wisdom, warns his son not to fly too low, nor too high. He advocates for balance. Icarus, drunk on the ego's ascent, flies towards the sun, the ultimate symbol of pure, disembodied, masculine intellect. He ignores the wisdom of the body, the limits of his materials. His fall is not a punishment. It is a rebalancing. He falls out of the abstract sky and back into the sea, the great symbol of the unconscious, of emotion, of the universal mother. His fall is a homecoming. This is not just myth. In the mid-20th century, psychologists like Stanislav Grof began studying non-ordinary states of consciousness. They documented, again and again, a phenomenon they called ego death. Subjects reported a terrifying, complete dissolution of their sense of self, a psychological free fall. It felt like dying. And yet, almost universally, those who passed through this abyss described it as the single most healing and transformative experience of their lives. They had to fall apart to come together in a more whole and authentic way. The logic is undeniable. A structure that is too rigid, that allows for no bending, is the most fragile. It can be shattered by a single, unexpected blow. A skyscraper that cannot sway in the wind will collapse in an earthquake. A psyche that cannot surrender, that cannot bend, that cannot incorporate its own shadow, will eventually break. Your dream of falling is not a prophecy of doom. It is a structural integrity report from your soul. It is your personal earthquake alarm, warning you that you have become too rigid, too brittle, too high up. It is an act of profound love from the deepest parts of yourself, begging you to come back down to earth, before you shatter. The image of Icarus hitting the water transitions. The splash becomes a single drop of ink spreading in clear water, forming complex, beautiful patterns. The screen fades to a calm, minimalist space. It's the psychoanalyst's office, but it feels more like a sanctuary. The lighting is soft. The voice is now a gentle, closing thought. We have journeyed from the penthouse of the Icarus complex to the fertile abyss of the soul. We have learned that the fall is not a failure, but a function of psychic gravity, an invitation to surrender, and a chance for rebirth. Now, the dialogue continues with you. In the comments below, I want you to share one detail from your own cartography. Tell us the place you are falling from in your dream. Is it a skyscraper of ambition? A cliff of a relationship? A bridge to an unknown future? The architecture of our falls tells a profound story. Let's explore the blueprints together. If you are ready to stop fearing your own depths and instead learn the language they speak, then I invite you to join our collective exploration. Subscribe to Ego and Echo. We are the cartographers for the soul's uncharted territories. Understanding the fall is the first step. The next is to explore what you find when you land. Our journey logically continues with an examination of the symbols of the underworld. I recommend you watch our next session, The Symbolism of the Cave, Finding Treasure in Your Own Darkness. Click the video on the screen to continue your descent.